Hi, I'm Scott with Work Happier, where we're building better workplaces and happier workforces through the experiences of people. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.
Okay, so this is resume video number 3, how to actually build a resume, and we're talking about the summary, and you hear it frequently. Hiring managers, they don't read summaries. Nobody reads summaries. And that's partially true, but that's because most, resume summaries are kind of bad and they star and end up being a waste of space. But it's not because, we're bad writers, right? It's because people don't understand. We don't understand what the summary is what is it supposed to do? And when a hiring manager, right, when you see known for, like, it's empty words, known for what, by who, if you're so known, go get a job from those people. Results-driven professional, dynamic leader, a team player, proven track record, that's another one. So any of these trigger phrases, it's not so much that nobody believes any of it, because it could be true. I don't know. It came from somewhere. But you stop reading and you just move on to the next thing without a whole lot of context, because you already know it's not going to provide you any valuable information. Once you see those trigger phrases, you're like, okay, whatever. This is just whatever. So it's not, that summaries aren't given a chance. It's that they just completely fail to engage the reader. And it's incredibly valuable space, like I said, because we covered the title and the headline in the last video, which, they're there to orient the reader. You should watch that if you haven't. But so the summary is there to inform and direct the reader. That's what it's there for. And if you fail to engage that, that's critical information and direction that you're not giving. So what does the summary actually do? It's supposed to answer some questions. Who are you? In a slightly larger sense than the headline or the title, maybe. We'll get to that later. What do you do? How, maybe why do you do it? And what are you doing here? What do you want, right? Another way to say it would be kind of like, how do you think? How do you work? What problems do you solve? And then if somebody were to hire you, what happens? Simple. But, you'll hear other resume professionals, coaches, ChatGPT, people who don't know what they're talking about, say, here's when you need one, here's when you don't need one. You need one with a career change. You only need it with the complex career. You only need it if you're an executive. You only need it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, whatever. It's bullshit. Because there are, like, you got to show me the resume first, right? There's no way to know if it needs a summary until you look at the resume, until you talk to the person, until you figure out what the strategy is. What are we building here? Because each piece is not individual; they all work together. So how can you possibly know it? There are no rules. Like, that's the reality of the situation. And I'm not giving you rules, except maybe that there are no rules. I'm giving you a concept. I'm trying to put context to this and purpose behind each section. I'm trying to have everything work together. And you have to do the work, or somebody has to do the work. I'm happy to do it for you and apply judgment to what happens. So no, there are no rules. And the reality is, the reason you see so many summaries is because most of us just don't have a strong enough resume or a public profile to go without one. And because there are no rules, though, you can kind of answer these questions however you want. We just see most of them written in a very specific way that is not effective at all. And that's why you hear nobody reads resumes. So let's look at some examples of what I'm talking about, because I think that'll be helpful. First, let's see here. We're going to look at a traditional resume. And this resume is kind of going to be, okay, first of all, it's funny because these are actually this is me. This is actually an old summary. This is real of mine from an old resume. And this is why most resumes are not good. It's terrible. It's terrible, but it's a better version of a bad summary, in my opinion. So it's a bad summary. But it does answer the question. So, I specialize in understanding how people think. Yeah. That does answer who you are, but it's too long and it's pretty packed with, it's just a list of things. My background spans sales, operations, leadership roles, or blah, blah, blah. Again, I blah, 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 because it's my own writing. And I'm like, oh, who wants to read this? It doesn't mean anything. It does answer what you do, and it sort of answers how, but again, it's too packed, right? You can't actually figure out what it's saying. I work best in high ownership environments where adaptability, communication, and execution matter more than a rigid process. Well, this does answer how, and it is kind of what we're looking for. It is the best part of this summary, but it's too abstract. It's too packed with like this. This doesn't tell us anything. I wouldn't read this. If somebody, I've hired a lot of people. I don't know that I'd made it past my own summary, however many years ago that was. So this is a great example though, because it does answer the questions I'm talking about, but that does not mean that it is good. Okay, so now let's look at a kind of a non-traditional resume. And this one, in my opinion, it's actually pretty good. Especially if you put the rest of the resume around it, like they're not supposed to stand on their own, but here we go. There's no wasted words. I'm the person who helps you see the reality of what's going on. Yeah, very clear on who you are. Figure out what to do about it, what to actually do about it. Well, that's pretty clear on what it is that you do. Assess a situation, build a plan, move it forward. Well, it's how you do it. Very clear. And then I'm looking for an organization or company who needs someone to make some shit happen. Certainly what you want, and it tells you the type of person you're about to read about. It's pretty clear. It's certainly, like I said, it's non-traditional, but it works. It does for a certain type of person in a certain kind of role, depending on what you're looking for. Okay, so now we move to another version of a non-traditional resume. And this one's actually pretty interesting. I've seen these before. Personally, I've actually never written one like this, but I might if it worked, if it came up. But I've seen them, and I've liked certain people whose resumes have had these. They do work. And the whole resume is bullets. So why not make it uniform? And then you make the summary bullets, kind of high level bullets. It doesn't really tell us who you are, but that's okay, because what this would be is this is more like bullets to the headline. So your headline kind of acts as the who you are, and then this would come directly below the headline, and you can skip it, right? You don't always have to have the who, because you have the name in the headline. And like I said, it doesn't, but it does the job. The thing you have to be careful about in these is that you don't double up bullets below. You don't want to just say the same thing that you're about to say in an experience bullet later on. You want to set up what's coming next. You kind of want it to be higher level. If you have 3 or 4 kind of key points that you want to get across, then you would put the bullets right there. And now, this is kind of a fun. It's a little bit unhinged. I don't know. I help people and organizations understand what's really happening. That does tell me who you are. Figure out what to do next and move forward. What you do provides value, sure. And then for examples of my work, communication style, and approach to problem solving, visit my YouTube channel with a link. There's no better way to tell somebody how you work than that. And I mean, it's a crazy way to do it, but it I don't know. I've never done this for sure. I totally would though. If I may test it out. We'll see. Maybe you'll hear back from me on whether or not this actually works. And that's okay, because sometimes you can skip the last part too. You don't have to tell them what you need, because like this one doesn't say what do we want, what's the point, because you're applying for the job, right? So sometimes it kind of implies what you're looking for, and I think this really highlights kind of highlights the problem. Everybody wants to know what the summary is. Do I need one? Well, we want to know what's right. What's the right way to do this? There isn't one. There isn't one. All of those resume summaries, I'm confident they would all work. I've seen most of those function. But because the right summary, it's what fits into the narrative that you're building, and it's what keeps the reader engaged. That's it. So if you want to work with me, have me help with your career strategy and write your resume. If you have any questions, my contact is in the description. Check out my website, workhappier.ca, and remember, it's all about the people. Coming next in this series will be experience, the evidence, the bullets. So look for that soon. And thanks, Scott with Work Happier, and please do not forget to subscribe.